Like, he doesn't look or act or sound anything like Enzo Ferrari.
The lack of you can't play a character that's supposed to have an accent without one anymore. After Kevin Costner played Robin Hood, and the accent left after about minute 14, and it's been notorious for that. You can't do that anymore.
And they picture Enzo Ferrari. They portray Enzo Ferrari as a super elitist off the racetrack in his like Enzo Ferrari. After the fight with Lamborghini where he suggests using this new type of clutch design, and he says, go back to your tractors. He gets in a chauffeured Rolls Royce and drives off. Like, Enzo Ferrari famously drove around in a Fiat 600. What's up, folks? Today's episode is brought to you in part by Harry's. I love Harry's. I love Harry's razors so much that even in the times when they weren't sponsoring this podcast, I kept using Harry's. Yes, it is true that I started using Harry's because they sent me a sample pack because we were doing ads. But then you know what happened? I liked it. They dropped off our advertising radar for a little while, and I kept buying Harry's. It was a great value. It was great quality. And now you can give that cool factor plus the value and the quality to someone else in your life, because it's gift season. Giving a great gift can make you look good, and giving the gift of Harry's to the men on your list can make them look good too. I love the blades, right? These cartridges, they're extremely high quality and they are affordable. They're way, way more affordable than some of those other brands you're probably thinking of. 5 blades on the cartridge, 4 on the front and 1 on the back. Beautifully weighted handle with a rubberized grip. I shave my head and face in the shower, so it's very important that even when that grip gets wet, that I have a good handle on it. It's got the foaming shave gel, which I love, thick, rich, and delightful. You know what I've just done? I've realized that I get a much better shave when I put the foaming shave gel on and then I let it sit there for a minute. It's too easy to put it on and then go straight to your shave. You got to give it a second to work. So you foam it up, let it sit for 2-3 minutes, and then that hair, those follicles are nice and soft, and they come off real easy with those blades. The starter set, here's what we're talking about because it's a holiday. It includes a 5-blade German-engineered razor, a weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover. It's a $13 value for only $3 if you use my link, harrys.com/tire. You can schedule blades to be delivered whenever you need them, right? Us men have a pretty regular shaving schedule, whether it's once a day, once a week, or once a month. You can schedule those blades that way. Right when you think, oh man, I'm going to run out of blades soon, boom, package shows up. Each refill is as low as $2. You never have to go to the store and buy blades again. Harry's new holiday gift boxes include premium shaving and grooming products in gift boxes nice enough to go right under the tree with no wrapping required. So check off all the guys on your list with a Harry's starter set. First-time buyers get a $13 value for just $3 at harrys.com/tire, and check out those Harry's gift boxes. But act fast. These offers are for a limited time with limited stock at harrys.com/tire. Also, it's about those Berryman products. You know them. We've been talking about them for months now. And over the years, Berryman Products has developed a reputation and a loyal following among professional mechanics and weekend gearheads alike. Along the way, Berryman has been recognized on numerous occasions for its quality and innovation. At this year's Apex show in Vegas, Berryman's B33 engine degreaser was named the winner in the performance packaging category, beating out over 80 other entries in the process. It's quite an honor for a company with a 100-plus year history, but not surprising when you consider that Berryman Products has continually introduced the best automotive lubricants, additives, and cleaners on the market. Today, the Berryman name is found on over 80 different products, including the B33 engine degreaser. And Berryman's newly packaged B33 engine degreaser is specially formulated with high-performance detergents and emulsifiers to easily penetrate road grime, dirt, grease, and oil. The fast spray-on, rinse-off cycle saves time and conserves water. B33 engine degreaser works on vehicle engines, small engine parts, lawnmowers, hand tools, machinery, fleet, farm, and marine equipment. Best of all, B33 contains no phosphates, abrasives, solvents, or VOCs. For more than 100 years, the Berryman name has been synonymous with performance and dependability, but it's also nice to be noticed for your looks. So look for Berryman products at all major automotive retailers or on the net at berrymanproducts.com. berrymanproducts.com. And now, let's talk about meat. My favorite part of the holiday season is not the gifts, it's not the snow, it's the meat. I love the meat. And ButcherBox is where we get the meat. ButcherBox takes the guesswork out of finding high-quality meat and seafood you can trust, whether it's grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, pork raised crate-free, and wild-caught seafood. Everything is humanely raised with no antibiotics or added hormones. I got this new smoker. I've been talking about it, this Z-Grill smoker. It's one of these pellet joints, real easy. And I just cannot wait to get it filled with meat. And ButcherBox is the ultimate in meaty convenience. Get just what you want delivered right to your doorstep. Free shipping for the continental U.S. and no surprise fees. There's a huge variety of box plan options from curated to customized, and you can change your plan whenever you want. I love these meats. I love the strips. I love the ribeyes. I love the burgers. I love the bacon. I love the chicken. Even that salmon is delicious. And I have made many, many Hanukkah dinners with ButcherBox steaks. We like to eat ribeyes for Hanukkah, and I am into that. I've sent ButcherBoxes to my friends, to my family members, and I love when a box of meat shows up at my door. It means I don't have to go to the grocery store and find this. I don't really, the quality could be iffy, right? With ButcherBox, I know I'm getting delicious, fresh meat. It's convenient. The cost is right. The quality is great. And I am into all that. So this holiday season, make it better and tastier with ButcherBox. For a limited time, they're offering our listeners ground beef for life and $10 off your first order. If you order a plan and you get a regular delivery, for the life of that plan, they will include free ground beef for life and $10 off your first order. So sign up today at butcherbox.com/tire and use code TIRE to get $10 off your first box and ground beef for the life of your membership. That's butcherbox.com/tire and use code TIRE. You got to do double tire. butcherbox.com/tire, code TIRE to claim this deal. Ground beef for life, baby. That's where it's at. All right, today it's a crew show. Zack and I are back from Thanksgiving. I drove the Audi R8 GT, which we talked about on the Pro Driver show, but I might mention it again on this one. Plus, Zack and I drove the new 911 Carrera T. We talk about that. Zack, what else are we covering on this show today?
Hang on. I'll have to cut that part. I wasn't ready. I've been driving around in the
Panamera. Okay, right.
Panamera
Yeah,
e-hybrid.
sorry. Okay, all right. I'll just start it over.
Okay.
All right, today's episode is a crew show. We got a first crack at the new 911 Carrera T last week. We're going to talk about that. Zack drove the Panamera Hybrid out to Palm Springs and back. I rode the Indian FTR 1200S motorcycle. Very, very important. We're going to talk about our 135i giveaway, announce the winner of that, and more on today's crew show. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. Holy fuck, that's hot. That's really hot.
You gotta let it sit for a bit.
Very
like
hot
meat
coffee.
when you pull it
Jesus
off the grill.
Christ.
You gotta rest.
Oh boy. Okay.
You're awake now.
Fucking that, just like between that and like when I went downstairs to get this coffee cup, I somehow managed to clank the cups in the cabinet together in the perfect way that it just made this piercing ceramic on ceramic fucking clanking sound. It really got me.
Perfect frequency.
Really got me. All right. Anyway, now I'm here. Welcome to the program. I had a long morning. I had to ride the Indian FTR 1200, 50 miles down to Costa Mesa to return it. Yeah, it was a little cold, and that motorcycle has no windshield or fairing of any kind, so I was really hanging on 80 miles an hour.
Oh man, you're getting which jacket did you wear? The textile one?
I wore my winter jacket, but it's still, it's not, it wasn't like, I wasn't like freezing cold. It was just, it's like, you know, it's direct wind to the chest, you know, and it's not the kind of motorcycle you can really tuck on.
Not at all. It wouldn't do anything.
And even if it was, like, my back can't handle a tuck for 50 minutes straight on the highway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that the term wind chill exists. Like, you know,
So I guess we can start with that. I rode it for a month, Indian FTR 1200S. Nice bike. It's the kind of bike I really wanted to like. You know, like a lot of like a motorcycle is about like a vibe and an attitude, you know, and I mean, substance is certainly important. You know, mechanics and stuff is absolutely important, how it rides and how it handles. But there's also, even more so than cars, an element of style that is very important with a motorcycle. And I really liked how this bike looked. I like how it sounds. I like the general vibe of it.
It looks like a Ducati Monster SV, Suzuki SV kind of. Is that?
Yeah, but it's like it's got more metal. Like Monsters are really light, and like they don't feel cheap or anything like that. But like this feels like that. But if it was just a big hunk of metal. And it weighs like 150 pounds more than a Monster.
Wow.
Monsters are really light. This is kind of heavy. This is light by Harley standards, but heavy by Monster standards.
Well, it's a 1200, right? A Monster is 750 cc, something like that.
Yeah, but it's still like, it's not just the displacement of the engine that adds that weight. There's just a lot more metal on this thing.
Okay.
It's clearly like from the people that brought you Harley Davidson. You know, but it's nice to cruise on. It's really great between 40 and 75 miles an hour. It's got really big torque. You don't have to rev the engine very high to get going pretty fast, which is good because the engine is great below 5,000 RPM, and I didn't love it above 5,000 RPM. Above 5K, it's not very smooth. It's a V-twin, so it obviously has a certain kind of thrum vibration to it, but above 5K, that vibration overwhelms like the exhaust note, you know, or the intake sound, and it stops being like joyful, which is kind of weird. And so I didn't find myself, it revs to 9, but like I didn't find myself going over like 6 hardly ever. It also has a really grabby clutch and no quick shifter. So every time you're changing gear up or down, you have to get your rev matching really, really right. Otherwise, it's kind of like, it can be a little jerky. And like, fortunately, like I'm okay at that. Like I've been riding for 12 years and like I can rev match just fine. But it's very grabby.
But if you're not perfect.
If you're not perfect,
right. Okay.
You're going to have a jerky riding experience, and there's no covering it up. You know, it's not a slipper clutch, and it's a regular clutch, and it's also a grabby clutch. And so if you go to do a downshift, especially like a 3-2 downshift, and you don't quite catch that rev right, you can have a jerk there that can be a little gnarly. And so overall, I found it to be an enjoyable thing to ride unless you're doing a lot of highway riding. I would not choose it. If I had a 30-mile each way highway commute, this is not what I would want to ride.
This seems like one of those a runabout, like the city. It's almost a scooter plus, like a lot of the other naked bikes, which I like. I like the style of them, and I like they seem more approachable than like a race replica, and they are more comfortable. But highway miles are a little exhausting. You're getting hit with the wind. Like my SV was like that.
Yeah.
And it's just bikes are interesting because there's a few, the ones that are true like dual purpose everything are compromised at something. Like the GSs, like they're not super fast. They're not corner carvers. So
one of the best all-purpose bikes I've ridden so far is downstairs in the lobby. That Triumph Tiger 900 with a mild fairing and street tires on it, not knobbies. Like, that bike is totally underrated and awesome. It's got the triple, so it's got revs like an inline, but torque like a V, and it's got a quick shifter, and it's got a really good gauge cluster, and really good brakes, and adaptive shocks, and it's expensive. It's like, I think it's like $18,500. It's an expensive bike. Now, granted, my homie got this one for a super deal. Like, because it had like a little scratch on the gas tank and they couldn't sell it. So it was like, he got it like for like 14 instead of 18, which would make it cheaper than this Indian. But I like that thing for everything. Same thing with the smaller GSs, the F850 or that one I rode. Like, that one was great, really like narrow and easy to lane split and stuff like that, as opposed to the big 1200 GS, which is if I was riding across the whole country, that's what I'd want. But with the Indian, like the handlebars are fairly narrow, so lane splitting is easy. It's maneuverable. The brakes are really good. I really liked the brakes. Big Brembos and a Kropovich exhaust from the factory, which I thought it's got a great sound on startup. Great cooling fans. So if you get stuck in traffic, the cooling system is really effective, doesn't overheat. And it feels like it's well made, like it's screwed together really nice. But at the price point, which is $14,999, like you're right in, it's a really competitive place. And a lot of the other brands have more tech. Most of the competition at this price point has a quick shifter, which once you get used to it, it's hard to let that one go. A lot of the competition has factory nav, heated grips, heated seats. This doesn't have that. And the engine was not particularly inspiring to me. It was actually kind of a bit of a weak link in terms of how it revs and makes power. It's torquey, but other engines are also torquey.
So it's kind of like, I don't mean to be cold to Indian, but like, what's the point of it then?
Well,
if it lacks these features.
Remember Top Gear did a special that was like, what's the best car if you're not going to buy a 458? Because they pretty much were like, the 458 is so clearly the best at this, Right,
that's why you buy an Aston Martin or something.
Right. In this category, you've got your Ducati Monster and your Ducati Street Fighter, both of which are actually a lot cheaper than you think they're going to be. The Monster I rode was like $12,900. And that was, I remember riding and going, well, this is the best thing I've ever ridden. And so you're sort of like, if you don't want a Monster and you don't want a Harley Sportster, what is kind of in between those two things? I want an urban and suburban runabout that I could take in the canyons, or I could take on the highway, or I could commute to work on sometimes.
But you like a traditional feel, let's call it, of the Harley, where it's lower tech. You like that simpler bike. You don't need all the new fancy things.
This is definitely not as like clunky as a Harley. Like Harleys are like, you know what I mean? They're heavy metal fucking things, and like they're a little clunky. This is sportier than that, but not as sporty as some of the other options. I probably wouldn't spend my money on this bike, but it didn't fail at what it was purported to do. It's missing some tech at that price point. It's not as light as some of the other options, but like they have it. They're presenting it accurately. What you see is what you get, and it was fun to ride. Despite its drawbacks, I still enjoyed riding it most of the time.
Okay.
So anyway, I rode that thing 50 miles to Costa Mesa on the freeway this morning, and And that was a little tiring. I wouldn't want to do that every day. But thanks to Indian for letting me have a go, for a month. That's a long time with a bike.
Come to think of it, most Harleys you see, or that I see around here, like there's the really big ones that have a fairing and a windshield.
Right.
But then the Sportsters and whatnot, which are really popular in LA, no windshield, and people are riding them on the highway all the time trying to get around.
And you ever see their shirts just flapping, their jackets like inflated with air? I mean, those people they're taking a pounding with air.
Yeah.
And a lot of these, the upright bikes without a fairing or a windshield. Now, granted, Indian does have an optional like little windshield for this bike. It would look a little strange. It definitely doesn't make you look cool, but but it would help. And you could get it. I probably wouldn't. But that kind of stuff does help. Did you find a picture of the windshield? I don't know if they show it with the windshield. This is the new. So this is the new version. That one, and then there's one that comes up a little higher. So this photo that you're showing is the 2023 version. Okay. So they've done a few updates for 2023, and they said I can try the new one in February.
That's a good looking bike.
Yeah, so that's the updated version of what I rode. It has, you can see in the photo below there, a full color GPS screen. You see that? So they've added that. It's a touch screen. They've added a slipper clutch, so they've addressed my comments about the clutch. They've revised a few things in the engine. They've got traction control. They've got the same adjustable suspension that it's got now. So I mean, they have said that there are some updates that do change the bike a little bit, and I would like to try it again to see how it goes. But yeah, so they're listening and they're learning and they're evolving.
That's cool.
I don't know if the new bike has a quick shifter. That would be very nice. Can you go to specs up there and see if it's got the 120 horsepower? View all specs. Drive, assist and slip multi-plate clutch. Okay, so that's good. Does it say transmission go down 6-speed? It does not necessarily say quick shifter. Okay. Also, the range was really bad. This new one says 3.4 gallon tank. I think the new one the one I had might be a little smaller than that, but the range was like 100 miles. It's not a lot of range.
What was the Monster's range for comparison?
It was more than that. Yeah, it was more than that. But the Monster was I think it was an 800. Okay. That I rode her.
So so it sipped.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
And also this thing doesn't the top gear, 6th gear is revs pretty high. Like at 80 miles an hour, you're at 5,000 RPM in 6th gear, which I don't really think it needs. I think if you were at like 4 or even the high 3s in 6th gear, that would probably be sufficient with the torque.
That's pretty high because it says peak torque is at 6,000. So you're right below peak torque. I mean, helps you accelerate in 6, obviously, but most of the time you just want to cruise, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. My choice would be to drop down 6th a little bit. But either way, it was a high quality piece of hardware. It felt like it was very solidly put together, and I liked that.
Nice.
Before we go to Carrera T, did I tell you that 2 nights ago I watched the Lamborghini Movie with Hannah?
You did.
It was awful.
Well, do you remember 2 podcasts on the Pro Show, on the Patreon Pro Show, which is our 9th show we do once a month for our Pro Driver patrons? Someone asked if we'd seen it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know it was out. And I Googled it and it said it was only in 2 theaters in the area. So maybe it's new. And then I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes reviews after we were off air.
Right.
And it had 10%.
Well, by today it's 9%. Ooh. So it's gone down. So I watched, I think it's called Lamborghini, the man behind the something. This fucking thing. Dude, this movie was terrible. And for so many reasons. I watched it with Hannah. So I'm watching it as a Lamborghini enthusiast, automotive journalist. I'm not the man behind the legend. That's what it's called. I'm watching it as a
It's homework for you.
Well, I'm watching it for the same way I watch Ford versus Ferrari, with a critical eye towards historical accuracy, shit like that, right? And Ford versus Ferrari was done on a pretty tight budget for what it was. I mean, it wasn't a super
budget,
small.
though.
It wasn't that big.
Really?
No, it wasn't that big. It was a tighter budget than you think, considering what they were doing.
Okay.
Right. But they spent money in the right ways.
It was $97 million.
Okay, that's pretty big, but it's not like, Avatar or Batman big. It's probably less than half of a Batman.
Okay.
Of a Marvel film. Okay, so, and we're talking about they're building.
Holy shit, you're right. The budget for the most recent Batman was $200 million.
Yeah. So less than half of that, right?
It's a good thing it was good.
Right. So it's still big, right?
Okay.
It's still big, but it's less than you might think, considering what the final product looks like.
Right.
I don't know what the budget was on this, but it was not used wisely. For the first thing that bothered me is the story. So in Ford versus Ferrari, and I'm going to keep going back to this as an example. Carroll Shelby is a main character, but not the main character.
Yeah.
Ken Miles is really the main character,
Yes.
right? And we don't know a lot about Ken Miles, and over the course of the movie, we learn a lot about Ken Miles, right? And there are multiple ups and downs of drama, points of tension, where it's going well and then it's not going well.
Of course.
And all the characters are somewhat dynamic in the movie. Carroll Shelby, played by Matt Damon, has like good parts. You wanna be on his team, but he's also kind of a shitbag. Ken Miles is like not as highly imperfect, but like clearly charming and driven, and and you want to be on his team, and the Ford corporate as well as Ferrari are kind of villains that are holding them back, and it all kind of comes together at Le Mans, right? It comes to a head at a point of immense tension that doesn't necessarily end the way a casual viewer thinks it might end, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, this movie, the Lamborghini Movie, literally doesn't have any of that.
Oh, man.
It's just like if you asked me to tell you a top-level story of Ferruccio Lamborghini, and I gave you the story of, okay, he fought in World War II, he made tractors, he collected Ferraris, he was unhappy with the clutch, he went to Enzo Ferrari complaining about his clutch, Ferrari told him to go fuck himself, and he said, I'm going to start my own car company, and then he did. That's the plot of this movie. And there are like mild points of tension. His first wife dies in childbirth. Okay, that's sad. But he literally has a new wife like 30 seconds later. Like he's literally like
they didn't explain.
Like the next scene, he meets like a new woman that his friend has a crush on, and he just like takes this woman, and the friend is hurt and tells him to go fuck himself, and now he's got a fucking wife, a new wife.
And was there any dialogue with his first wife explaining like, hey, your eyes are always wandering a bit? Like, were they trying to portray him, I think, as a ladies' man, and that's why he moved on so quick? Or did they just cut a scene in the middle and now you just don't know anything about this person?
In the beginning portray him as being very faithful to this woman who he goes to war, leaves behind, and comes back to with an engagement ring. And then he's married to a new chick, but also very good looking, and women want him. Right, and so there's always these women that are kind of coming after him, and it's like, but that's not really what the story is. Very top level and shallow. But then they show the first real car scene. It's 1947. Before Lamborghini has ever built a tractor, he's going to try to raise money to build tractors by building a race car, modifying a Fiat for a race, a Mille Miglia style race. It's not the Mille Miglia, but it's like a regional,
like a rally thing.
Regional Mille Miglia. 1947, and Enzo Ferrari is there to present the prize to the winner, and Enzo Ferrari has entered the new Ferrari 166, which was the first ever Ferrari road car in this race. We know what year that is. It's 1947 or the beginning of 1948, okay? The fucking cars they're racing against, Porsche 356 Speedster came out in 1954. Mercedes 190 SL Roadster came out in 1953. Like, they're racing against cars that won't exist for like yet. 6 years.
Why?
It doesn't even look right. It looks weird as hell. Like, I'm guessing the filmmakers either couldn't find cars from the late 40s or were like, oh, these cars are better looking.
Yeah.
It's Porsche. It's recognizable as a Porsche. It's recognizable as a Mercedes. It's recognizable as a Jaguar.
But either way, that's a mistake. Either you
they're
can't
fucking
get the
not
cars.
in the right year.
Right. Yeah, that's terrible.
And then that kind of shit keeps happening. It happens like 3 other times where they're showing cars in context where it's supposed to be a year, and the other cars are from the wrong fucking year.
The Mira lining up against the 959.
And then they keep having this street race scene between Lamborghini and Enzo Ferrari. Lamborghini's in a Countach. Ferrari's in a Mondial 8. And not only would a Mondial 8 not have a remote chance of beating a Countach in a drag race, but it's a scene that it never happens. It's like a dream sequence type scene that just kind of like ends at one point. There's never a winner. It never ties in to reality. Like he has this thing with Ferrari, but it's very obvious Ferrari just doesn't really give a fuck about him at all. And they just sort of like the movie just kind of ends. They make kind of a big deal out of some non-real issues with developing the 350 GT. They introduce people like Bizzarini, who built the engine for the 350 GT, and some other key figures. There's like mild bits of tension when designing the car, but then they like design the car and they show the first test drive and it's great and it works. And then they launch it at Geneva and it's
too
great.
Smooth, yeah.
And like there's literally no moments of tension other than like his wife gets mad at him because he's spending too much time with the cars. And like,
so I just watched a clip that was Trey Parker leading the writers at South Park, like new writers. And he said, if the beats between your script are joined with and then, he's like, your shit sucks.
Yeah, that's what this was.
It has to be but, therefore.
That's what this was.
Here, something's happening, but something's going wrong. And that's story writing 101. It's especially with script stuff.
And like, what's weird is like there are some points of tension in the history. If you're talking about Lamborghini, the company, like they've been like almost insolvent like so many times.
Yeah.
Like there is drama that you could pull from and create real story and real tension, but it's really just about Ferruccio, who never has a major point of conflict in that the film hinges on.
So it's very surface level.
Yeah, I mean, especially because like he starts a car company that anyone with a fucking brain knows exists today. So it's not like he fails to start the car company. You know, if Ford versus Ferrari was just about, will Carroll Shelby ever put his name on a car? Yeah, he will. Like, it's not. There's just no.
Well, you have to. I think whoever wrote it or the writers, like, you need to find the deep conflict in Lamborghini, which has been financial. Yeah. Because they never had a racing program, and they never had a great adversary in that way, the way Ford versus had Ferrari. I mean, that was a rivalry that played out on newspapers and was huge. Yeah. It was a huge story.
Well, and they also like Ford versus Ferrari had A.J. Bames' book.
Yep.
They had Go Like Hell. So that story was so great, and it was told really well, and it lent itself to film.
Well, AJ is really good at writing, and he's very good at taking a complex or a large topic and writing it in a way that reads almost like a screenplay.
Totally.
Like the book is entertaining to read. Same with his book, All About Henry Ford. It is. I remember reading it, and the way the chapters would end, it was like, this is setting up tension that makes me want to turn the page to the next one. So it's very, very smart.
This had none of that shit.
You need that foundation.
None of it. And Gabriel Byrne plays Enzo Ferrari horribly. I mean, Gabriel Byrne is an amazing actor. I love him in The Usual Suspects. But, like, he doesn't even attempt an Italian accent. He doesn't look anything like Enzo Ferrari. Folks, today's episode is also brought to you by Athletic Greens and their product AG1. I take AG1 every day because I'll tell you what, I don't always get enough vitamins in my diet. I don't always get enough minerals in my diet. I try, but I just can't always do it, and I wanted the guarantee. So AG1 is here. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy. It's got this mild tropical taste that I kind of look forward to each morning. Reminds me of sort of an orange juice type stuff. AG1 has so much good stuff in it that you don't have to think about getting your vitamins and minerals with every single meal. They cover you. You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. It helps give you energy. It supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, your recovery focus, and it's got anti-aging property. All the things. I chug that stuff down right before my coffee, first thing in the morning. It helps give me that energy throughout the day. The taste is good. You know, it's definitely a nutrition thing. It's not like you're eating ice cream over here. You know you're getting those vitamins, and you got to drink it pretty fast. But it's with those travel packets, it's easy to carry around. You know, when you go to like Europe or something, it's all like breads and meats. They don't know what a salad is over there. That's why the AG1 helps me stay healthy on these long road trips. I am very, very into it. It's affordable. Less than $3 a day, right? It's way cheaper than getting all those different supplements yourself, and it's an all-in-one thing. Plus, all this good stuff like being a climate neutral certified company, right? They donate to organizations helping to get nutritious food to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the U.S. In 2020, they donated over 1.2 million meals to kids. Plus, AG1 supports better sleep quality and recovery. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, and still somehow tastes good. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And so to make it super, super easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your purchase. I love those travel packs. Make it easy to have AG1 anywhere in the world. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/tire. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/tire. athleticgreens.com/tire to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
I had to look up who he was. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I remember.
Remember him from The Usual Suspects?
Yep.
He doesn't look or act or sound anything like Enzo Ferrari.
The lack of you can't play a character that's supposed to have an accent without one anymore. After Kevin Costner played Robin Hood, and the accent left after about minute 14, and it's been notorious for that. You can't do that anymore.
And they picture Enzo Ferrari. They portray Enzo Ferrari as a super elitist off the racetrack in his like Enzo Ferrari, after the fight with Lamborghini where he suggests using this new type of clutch design and he says, go back to your tractors. He gets in a chauffeured Rolls Royce and drives off. Like Enzo Ferrari famously drove around in a Fiat 600. Like Enzo Ferrari was not ever chauffeured in a Rolls Royce. That wasn't his vibe. He was like a small town dude who only cared about racing and drove himself in a Fiat. He was never chauffeured in the big city in a Rolls Royce.
Right, so that's a way they tried to create tension by making Lambo look like the underdog.
Yeah.
But they did it in a false way.
Meanwhile, Lamborghini was the opposite. He said he owned 7 Ferrari 250s, 1 for each day of the week. So it was like they could have set up the antagonism differently. I mean, Enzo did famously have contempt for the customers of his road cars. It only cared about racing.
Right.
But they set him up in the movie as being this snooty, high society guy, and Lambo as being from a farmer. But it really was like, actually, look how he's fucking dressed in this photo. He's wearing like a three-piece, probably pre-Armani, but like an Italian three-piece suit.
Right.
Whereas Enzo Ferrari wore like a fucking shitty trench coat. You know what I mean? They could have set up the tension accurately.
Yeah.
And it would have been better.
And it might have been more fruitful.
Yeah. It was just, and so I watched it from a historical and car enthusiast and car accuracy perspective, and it was garbage. And Hannah watched it with me, and when it ended, she was like, "That's how they end this?" Like, it's fucking like they launched the 350 GT. He basically tells Enzo to go fuck himself. The 350 GT is now a car. He is sketching the Miura on a napkin at a dinner, shows it to some hot chick. His wife sees him, gets fucking pissed. You only care about your cars. You don't care about me. She leaves him. Last scene, him pulling out of the garage in the Miura, driving up a mountain, title card. The Museum of Modern Art said the Miura was the most beautiful car of all time. Credits. That's how it ends. Like, what?
Well, they're like, the rest how it goes. The Countach happened, and then
They
Aventador.
should have shown
blah,
an
blah, blah,
Urus
blah, blah.
driving up the fucking road, and then the Urus got the Pikes Peak SUV record in 2022. But it was like, both Hannah and I were like, "Wow, what a piece of shit."
Written and directed. What did this person do?
Yo, that guy who wrote this wrote fucking Crash, dude. The guy who wrote and directed this.
He wrote it?
Yeah.
No, he produced it.
Crash, $1 Million Baby.
Producer.
Yeah.
Different.
I thought he was the director.
I'm
Maybe
not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
Maybe
on IMDb right now it says producer.
Oh, it says co-executive producer and executive producer of the TV show and producer of the movie Crash. Yeah. Well,
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to throw shade at people I've never met that who knows about the Hollywood writing process and producing process.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
It sucks that a story that is obviously near and dear to our hearts was not only executed poorly but also factually inaccurate. Like that's two things that are wrong.
Yeah. It wasn't good. It wasn't good at all.
All right. Once I saw 10% the other day when we were doing the show, I went, I'm not watching that. I'm just not.
Well, I watched it specifically so we could have this conversation
This
right
is good
now.
content. Yeah.
I was like, hey, baby, guess what? We're doing homework tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate this. I just watched it in 12 minutes. Basically.
Yeah. No, you don't need to watch it. Yeah, it's not good.
Jeez. Enzo, he was just like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Enzo Ferrari." Like, what is his voice? I don't know. Gabriel Byrne. Is he British?
I think he's British.
Wow, you can't do that. Okay. Anyway,
it was bad. So this Sunday, Bills is going out of business forever. They won. They finally won. And if you're asking me how they won, it's very easy if you're a landlord and have a pretext to squeeze somebody, you can. For instance, if you were to find an excuse to rope off your tenant's parking lot during his busiest time, say, I don't know, Sunday breakfast and brunch, if you were to block off their parking lot and cut off easily 6 figures of revenue while simultaneously raising rent, that's all you have to do. There were a couple people who commented on my Instagram post who were like, see, that's what big government does. No, that's not what big government does. That's what shitty landlords do when they have power over tenants. They can cut off your revenue and then raise your rent and you can't pay and then they can make you leave.
And then you're out. Yeah.
And then you're out. So that's
actually private industry doing
That's
that.
actually the opposite of big government. That's a laissez-faire version of capitalism, you might say. True capitalism without the hand of government. With government, there might be some kind of tenant protections,
right?
Which there probably would be if he was living at the Malibu Kitchen. Because it's commercial, I think there's probably not. So this Sunday, December 4th, the Goodbye Bill party.
It sucks.
I don't care what the fucking landlords do. get my car people out there, have some bagels. I did delete the post once it got lots of traction. I deleted it. I didn't want the landlords to find it, fuck us up. But on that note, because Jerry is going to be out there, and Jay, now that he's healed up, they sent us the Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee table book, which is behind the scenes conversations, photographs, and highlights from comedians in cars getting coffee. You can it makes a good gift for your car folks in your life. So shout out to Jerry for sending this over. I think we might be recording an episode of Spike's show with Jerry and Jay also at Bill's this weekend. So I should have strawberry shortcake in hand as well. So I'll be bringing that out, unless we find out that the landlords are going to fuck us, in which case I'll ride the monkey up there because that's fun too.
So is this like a best of, like the best lines?
It's like best of, best lines, BTS,
nice
stories, and the origins and history of comedians in cars getting coffee. So it's a fun coffee table book. Get it for your father, your son, your brother,
nice,
your girlfriend, your boyfriend, somebody who loves cars or the show. I love Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. I thought it was a very excellent concept of a talk show in a car.
Exactly. It's a podcast in slightly shorter form with a couple of nice beats and really good editing, and of course cars.
Yes. So December 4th, the Goodbye Bill party. I'm not saying burn the place down, but I'm also not saying don't. He gave me, did you see what he gave me? Because it's fucking everything must go up there. And I tried to get some things that people already got. It bummed me out. Like the sandwich board.
Oh.
People have already called dibs.
Wow.
On the giant Malibu kitchen sign, someone's taken that.
Wow.
And so I got the I'm sorry we don't have a bathroom sign. Because everyone always asks if they have a bathroom. And they do, but they won't let you use it.
Yeah.
The key, which only I know and Hannah, is you go, hey, Bill, let me go check out the pots and pans. And then you go back in the kitchen, and that's where the bathroom is. But only a few people get to use it. Only a few people have the secret code word. So he said I could have the sign, so I'm going to frame it in my office that says we don't have a bathroom, go across the street.
He's a fun guy. Man, that sucks.
Yeah.
That really sucks. Yeah, everyone should show up and buy one more coffee.
Such like a staple of the fucking LA car community.
Yeah.
I mean, like the number, not just locals, but like people, who send me a note and they go, I'm coming to LA, I'm getting a fucking 911 on Turo. Obviously I'm going to go to Bill's, but like, what else should I do?
Right.
It's like Neptune's Net if you have fucking class.
And if you like food. Yeah. I don't really like the food at Neptune's Net.
They have a couple good dishes. I don't want to crap on Neptune's Net. Their fried shrimp are pretty good. But yeah, it's like it's a staple, and it's fucking sucks that like they won.
Yeah, maybe he'll find a new spot that he has more control over if he wants to.
They're building a new shopping center on the other side of there. Where where like the farmers market is now?
Yeah.
No, not across PCH. Same side of PCH, east to PCH. You know where the shopping center, where the farmers market is on Sundays?
Yep.
They're building a shopping center there.
Oh.
And they have offered him some kind of space over there, but it's like a long way out, and there's like contracts to work out, and blah 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 blah. And it may not happen, but like it might happen. I don't know. We hope it happens. I'm not really sure what's going to happen in the meantime, but like to not have Bill's is fucking blows. It's like
Sunday people should go there and buy a burrito because it's the best breakfast burrito in town.
It is.
Yep.
And like, yeah, it makes me very fucking sad, honestly. It really bums me out. Before we get to the Carrera T, which we do want to spend a few minutes on, we talked about this on the Pro Driver show. So if you're a pro driver, this may be repetitive. If you're not, this is going to be new. The winner of our BMW 135i giveaway, his name is Brad Reinhardt. He is from Paso Robles, California. We will be shipping him the car this week. He won by going to the website, getting a coffee mug, one of these nice little fucking guys right here, which I should probably be drinking out of today. And And just so you all know, because there were a couple people who suggested that we do the drawing live on the podcast, that's not actually how it works. Everyone who enters goes into a piece of software database that the lawyers who are in charge of the whole thing on the back end, the lawyers then run all the names through a random name picker, and they do it. It's a legal thing. It's sweepstakes. It's a whole fucking to-do. It's not us spinning a big ball full of fucking ticker tape and just pulling a name out of it like that.
There's a lot of laws around this stuff. So people that have commented on our Instagram and stuff, like, can you change this or can you do this? Like, we can't. This is all handled by attorneys and people in the back office, and it's very complicated. Especially people that said, why can't I enter this? I live in a different country. I have no idea. Talk to the Chamber of Commerce for the United States or something. I'm not sure.
The one thing we are able to change going forward is that New York and Florida will be included the next time we do a giveaway. That is literally just a matter of the get entered to win people not having the resources with this first one to include Florida and New York, because I think they're the most expensive states to run sweepstakes in, and we didn't know how much money it would bring in and if it would work. But now that we have a baseline, we are going to include New York and Florida for the next one. So congrats to Brad. You've won yourself a hell of a car. Zack and I and our opponents at Avis Autosport, South Bay Certified Collision Center, HRE Wheels, Cobb Tuning, Motul, Optima,
Green Filter,
the shocks,
KWST,
everyone that provided parts. We really appreciate all that, and we put together a hell of a fun fucking car. Thing is a little ripper. It's a great time, that car. It is. So Brad will have a really nice car to drive around. And thank you to everyone else for playing. For entering and getting yourself a coffee mug. We certainly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the process of watching us build and set up the car and going through all of that. And there were a couple little hiccups here and there, but we got them all worked out. And Brad gets himself a very nice Ultimate Daily Canyon car. All right, 911 Carrera T. Zack and I had a go the end of last week. We have a video up on the channel right now. I would recommend going to watch that. But bottom line, it's the base Carrera engine with a lot of driver-oriented options that are typically not available on base Carrera, such as manual transmission, such as limited slip diff, such as PASM, such as rear seat delete, carbon buckets, stuff like that. And it's $116,000 base price, which is $13,000 more than the 991.2.
Yeah.
And as tested with all this stuff on it, was $147,000. It was quite expensive.
Big money. The options, it's like you can get different taillights, different headlights, and the options list can get really big with aero and other things. But ours just had what seemed like a small list of options, but they're still very expensive. Carbon roof, the LED lights I think were like $3,000. Yeah. Special taillights were like $2,000, and then those carbon seats were $5,900. Yeah. And not either of our choice, I think, unless we're doing lots of track stuff and you're driving it sparingly.
Right. Like, it seemed like, so in the previous generation car, you could get the limited slip diff and the manual gearbox with a base car. And so they did more. There was a little more in the lightweighting stuff. And the price point was lower. So for like 120 to 125 grand, you got a really amazing performer that felt special and really light and agile. With this car, it seems like what they've done is taken a lot of options that they removed from the base Carrera and really allowed you to option those back in. So like, yeah, this car is like 100 pounds lighter than a Carrera, but 80 of that is because it has a manual and
Right.
a base Carrera has PDK. The other places they've saved weight are not as impressive once you realize that they save weight by allowing you to option the lighter manual gearbox. I mean, it's no cost, and okay, great, but like if you were to get this car with a PDK, as the Carrera comes with, it's actually not significantly lighter, especially if you get seat for seat, the other same. The only real lightweighting options are rear seat delete, optional carbon roof, and the lightened glass, right? And some reduced sound deadening. So it's only like...
So like, because I remember being curious, I was reading the specs and the carbon roof, it said a 30% reduction. And we were kind of laughing off camera, like, what does that actually mean? Because if it's a significant number of pounds, they will tell you.
Yeah.
And so Renlist, someone posted that it's like 3 to 4 pounds of saving.
I mean, it's an expensive 3 to 4 pounds. And it looks cool, but
It looks very cool. And if you do 3 to 4 pounds in 10 places, now you save 40 pounds.
Sure.
If you're, building a race car like where every pound matters, I get it. But, the biggest weight savings with our car was surely manual and the carbon seats, which are probably, 5 or 10 pounds lighter than the 18-way or the 4-way.
The carbon seats are a lot lighter.
Yeah,
because
you don't have any motors.
Well, you do have motors. The carbon seats go up and down power.
But they don't go.
But
the
carbon seats are like the regular seats. They are like 80 pounds each, and these are like 20. So that's a bunch if you get carbon seats. Rear seat delete, but you can also option it back in for $0. Long story short, this thing drives great, as pretty much all 992s do. Right? It's not a surprise to say that this car drives great. It drives great. Okay? It feels light on its feet. 3,254 pounds, as tested, is pretty light by all modern car standards. I mean, even the BMW M2 competition was what, 38?
Yeah, something around there.
Like, M3s are like knocking on the door of 4,000 pounds. There's a lot of cars now that are in the high threes.
M2 CS was 35, 45.
Okay, so this is 300 pounds lighter than that.
Yeah. That's very similar horsepower.
Yeah.
Similar grip, similar tire widths, good brakes, all that other stuff.
Yeah. So while this car isn't like a drag car, first and second gear were not particularly impressive. Third, fourth gear, momentum corners, you can really carry a lot of speed. It really does feel like with the turbo engine that it pulls out of medium and high speed corners really nicely. It stays very planted. It's very agile. The steel brakes are more than sufficient for street use. I mean, for canyons and stuff. Rear steer helps you make these very tight U-turns, which are nice. I like rear steer.
Rear steer is so convenient and so nice. They have it on. Well, every press car we've had from Porsche, I think that it's available. It's been on.
Yeah.
But man, I have that Panamera right now, which is a big car. U-turns you can feel it pivot, and it's just anything is maneuverable. It's amazing.
So I mean, long story short is the Carrera T is nice if you can't afford like a GTS or a loaded up S. The Carrera T is nice, but I would skip on all the extraneous cosmetic shit. It ruins the T. Meaning, like, if you get a special color, or like Zack mentioned, the special headlights and taillights, or the expensive bucket seats, like, that stuff adds up really, really fast. And like the sweet spot for a Carrera T, you still want it to be 10 or 15 grand cheaper than the Carrera S. Otherwise, you might as well get the extra power of the S, and you can still get all those options. You can get an S in manual. You can get an S, the diff, the PASM, all that stuff is available on the S. It's about taking advantage of those options with the T and saving some money, but still having a good handling car. So the more you load up the cosmetic stuff, we had $7,000 worth of extended leather.
Yeah.
What's that doing for you in the lightweight? You're gonna take out the back seat and then go extended leather all over the dash? Like, right. No. So if you keep the options light and you keep this thing under 125 grand, it's still a good value.
Because the T is about being the budget performance car of the 911 category.
Right.
But if you push that price up, like if you get a crazy option T, I don't know why you would, but then you're kind of doing that thing like you said in the video, like you're virtue signaling like, I'm a track lightweight canyon enthusiast.
Yeah.
But I also wanted a bunch of really nice stuff, so I optioned it up. It's like, well, now you've undone your own work. Like,
right.
You're taking 2 steps forward and then 2 steps backwards, and you're in the same place.
And also, you know, my Boxster Spider, pretty loaded, was 119 grand.
Yeah.
This thing, if you remove the back seat and you have buckets, that area becomes useless because you really can't even get. It's not like you can fit like a suitcase through there. You know?
Oh yeah, you can't because you can't move the seats.
You can't move the seats enough. So you've now got a 2-seater. You know. And it's has worse power to weight than Boxster Spider or Cayman GT4.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, for what the 100 or the 25th anniversary Boxster we drove, this was like a wonderful car. Looked expensive inside.
Yeah.
Looked more expensive inside, I would argue, than the 911T did, just because it had extended leather.
It had all the special leather and trim
red leather and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that was like $112,000 or something like that. I mean, it was barely. I think it was cheaper than where the T starts.
Yeah,
and it has plenty of power.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's kind of the
problem. Yeah, the
the
problem is that top tier Boxsters and Caymans are so good and a really good value for money that this kind of is like, well, it's a bigger car, but it only fits 2 people because it doesn't have a back seat anymore. And what is it really for now?
Yeah, you have to really like the 911.
Yeah.
You have to, and you can't be objective, I think, about your driving. You have to be subjective. Like, I like the 911 shape or the space or what it says about me versus what a Cayman or Boxster does.
Yeah, and like, I get it. If you want certain things and can't afford them with the S, like, okay, I get it. Your budget is your budget, and you got to work within your budget. And if you value the diff and the PASM and all that stuff above the extra power of the S, totally fine. Like, I got it. But a lot of people have been writing stories like, the T proves why the base engine is the best one. Like, I don't really believe those superlatives. Like, I think this is the best car that you can get if you can't afford the better one.
Right, yeah. Like I said, I would like to have a GTS. Or the GTS is if you want GT3 but you don't have the money.
Yeah.
And this is if you want GTS but don't have the money. But I don't think we should pretend with all of these compromises that this is now the ultimate 911 for some reason.
GTS rear-wheel drive stick is with 18-way sports seats. That's the best 911 road car. And then the GT3 stuff is better for the track. And the turbo is just like if you want to make people shit their pants.
Yeah.
Like, turbo is not like... It doesn't make a difference really on the street. Like, it's so fast that like you're just going to jail faster.
Yeah.
You know, like, so this is nice. It was really nice. It's just the value proposition is dwindling, especially when you start tacking on all the stuff. You know, and it's a press car, so of course it's got stuff. They're not going to give you black, no options car. It's just like that's how press cars work.
Yeah.
But like.
I like the idea of this, and I like the lighter version, and I like the mechanical diff, but if you're shopping for it, be very careful with that option box, because you may very quickly put yourself in the arena of the S, and then what are you doing? Yeah.
And it's not like the S weighs more because it makes more power. It's just got like a couple little different things and a different tune.
Yeah.
You get a bunch more power.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you can get a tune for this motor, and it does make good power. BBI and M Engineering and folks like that have a good tune for this that's reliable and would get you some more power that might go well with these options. But it was still a very nice car. I enjoyed it, and it was great. But it didn't. The last one, the 991.2T, I was like, oh, this is the shit. This is awesome. And it didn't. That didn't really happen this time. Anyway, that's all I have on my list. Do you have anything on your list? Do you want to talk about the Panamera?
Yeah, we can talk about Panamera.
Panamera Hybrid?
4E Hybrid Platinum Edition.
Whoa.
A lot of words.
Whoa.
Big name.
Panamera 4E Hybrid Platinum Edition.
Platinum Edition is basically like the S line of Audi or whatever, where it's going to have a bunch of nice things that just come included.
Oh, okay.
So you get more paint options included. You get 4 zone climate controls included. Heated, cooled seats are included. It's got like a brushed aluminum features inside. The red and black leather, I believe, is included, and a couple of tech things. So it's just like, all right, if you don't want to piecemeal your car together, just get the platinum.
Get the package. Yeah. It's got everything.
Which is, I mean, the car looks so nice. It's got red leather inside with like the black upper. It's GT silver, which is one of the only options it has, which is like $4,000
for silver.
For GT silver, which is a very nice looking silver. But it is silver.
I mean, $4,000 for silver. No thanks.
Yeah, I'd have to park it next to whatever the free options are, because there are 12 colors, I believe, that are included for zero cost, including some metallic colors. So I would bet you can get a version of that that's just slightly different.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of their most famous, paint mixes.
But I really like Porsche's hybrids. They're really cool. They can charge themselves, which I really like, and they have generally pretty decent EV-only range, right?
It's only 18 miles on this.
Oh, okay.
But it seems to sip it so gently. Like on the highway, it gets like 54 miles per gallon combined. So it the number of times it would activate EV only and then turn it back off again was like nearly seamless on the highway when I drove to Palm Springs and back. And
did you get 54 miles a gallon going to Palm Springs?
I got back with still half a tank of fuel. The range was like 500 miles. So I haven't clicked through the thing yet. But I was really shocked at the number of times I would catch us on the highway going 75 miles per hour with the tach at 0. And then it would kick back on and kick back off again. And I was running it in hybrid auto mode.
Right?
It's what?
A twin turbo 6?
Twin turbo 6, 2.9 liter, I think. It's like 455 horsepower, a lot of torque. Quick, not fast. It's not dramatic. Like even with launch control, it feels like a heavy car.
Yeah.
It's got air suspension, which also comes standard with the Platinum Edition. It's a really nice luxury, sedan, quote, from Porsche. And like you said, I really like when these sports car companies can integrate the hybrid system, so it is the on and off is seamless and the driving experience is elevated, like the 296 does this. Great, I have no problem with that. Like driving around town in EV mode with cooled seats working, with the air conditioning working, kicking out like a lot of air, doesn't really get that weak. It's just nice. And the ride is funny because in normal mode, the air suspension like kind of floats. It's got that canoe on a lightly windy day kind of thing going on. So on bumpier highways, if you put it in sport mode, like put the shocks in sport, it settles it more quickly and it actually rides better.
Oh, interesting.
Sport, and then if you can hit it again, it's like Sport Plus mode, and that's a little too stiff.
Yeah.
But the zero mode is like
it's too
town
wafty.
car.
Yeah.
It's wafting, and it feels
well with
fancy.
Air suspension. That's kind of how it does. They do it. Those are your options with air, right? It's like, do you want float? Do you want firm? Or do you want overcharged, shocks?
Like sport feels nice. Sport feels like mag ride, and then Sport Plus is just a little too stiff. I only had one hiccup. Today on the way here, the entire center screen just started doing a spinning wheel, even though it kept playing a podcast.
Really?
And I'll see if it's fixed itself when I go down.
It did it the whole way here until you turned it off?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was weird. And I was hitting buttons and stuff, and it didn't change anything.
The buttons were non-responsive, or the buttons changed things and the spinning wheels
The buttons seemed non-responsive, and the screen was non. It was just like, we're playing this now, and you're just going to look at this spinning thing. So
was it playing the same thing? You started playing a podcast.
I got in, and the screen worked.
Okay.
And I hit play, and I started driving, and then I look over like one block later, and all of a sudden it was just buffering wheel.
That's weird.
I thought that was very strange.
That's very un-Porsche.
Yeah. I was surprised.
That was on CarPlay? Playing it through CarPlay?
Yep. Yeah, wireless CarPlay.
Weird.
And it worked totally fine the whole week road tripping it around. The other downside is that the charger is, the old single, what is it called?
CCS?
CCS. Doesn't even have the other one. So
so no fast charging.
No fast charging. The fastest that you can use is 240 at your house or something
Level
like
2,
that.
Level 2. No DC.
Yeah, no, definitely no DC. You can't plug it in out here.
But it's a small, you can't plug it in here.
I think, isn't your plug has...
no, our plug is level 2, 240 here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't plug it into that?
I got to look at this. Let me look up.
Yeah, you definitely can.
Okay.
But it's a pretty small battery, though,
very.
right?
18-mile range. Like,
yeah.
I tried to charge it overnight.
It's like 8 kilowatts or so, 8 kilowatt hours.
7.5.
Yeah,
it's real small. Yeah, but it'll take like 12 hours to charge on a 110.
Right.
As expected.
Yeah, but it's like if I had that within this, did you drive it on EV only?
A lot.
Yeah. And did it still feel quick enough to use, or was it sluggish on EV only?
Oh, for driving?
Yeah.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fine. I was really impressed with how far I could get into the throttle pedal before the motor kicked on.
Right.
You know, I've driven other hybrids where if you add more than 20%, it kicks the engine on. And this was like, unless it knew I was really trying to go for it or go for a gap, it just, smoothly accelerated.
Yeah.
It felt like a slightly weaker Taycan.
Like if you use that EV mode within Los Angeles, and I realize people listen to this show in more places than just Los Angeles, 18 miles in LA, that's far.
Yeah.
That's a far, that's from us, like that's Hollywood and back, that's reasonably far. Like you could get most of your everyday driving done on EV only, which is good.
Here's the charging plug style.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought yours downstairs had like the 2
No, it doesn't have
it.
No, that's DC. No, that's the fast stuff. Yeah.
So, I went to a dog park and they had chargers there, which was cool, and I plugged it in for like 45 minutes, gained 5 miles of range. But like you were just saying, then the rest of the day I was running errands and I just used EV mode.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty nice thing, and it's $127,000 as spec'd. Mm-hmm. Feels like a lot of car for that money in that market. Like, it doesn't have a lot of options. Excuse me. Doesn't have a lot of options. I don't really know what else I'd want.
Yeah.
Like, it's comfortable, looks really nice inside and outside. It kind of reminds me of that Boxster 25th anniversary where you go, this is this much money? Like, this looks really, really upscale.
Cool.
Everything's put together really well. It's a good car.
This is why I pushed my dad into getting that Cayenne hybrid. It's basically the same powertrain as this. Mm-hmm. I think for his everyday errands, he'll use probably electric only, and when he has to go further, gas. And
I mean, after everything we've learned in the last month about the lithium supply, big fan of plug-in hybrids. Makes tons of sense.
Yeah.
Big fan. Yeah,
especially if you've got a level 2 handy, then you could charge that thing up in 2 hours.
Yeah, this is 3 hours from 0 to full.
Yeah, I mean that's very useful. That actually makes a level 2 plug like really useful.
Yeah, put one in your house.
Plus, it can charge itself.
Yeah,
you put it in charge mode, and as you're on the highway, if you drive 10 miles across the city on EV, you then get on the highway, put the thing in charge mode, and you go 50 or 60 miles on the highway, it'll recharge that battery fully by the time you get off the highway using the engine. Like you have a generator on board, like it can use it. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. And you have a video of that coming, right?
Yep.
Great. Do we need to go to the Patreon? Do we have things in the Patreon?
Questions.
Let's get to the Patreon. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. If you want to ask us questions, if you want to get the show in advance, if you want to have an ad-free listening experience, there we go. Prashan, what car has the most chode-like shifter? I know. Caterham 7.
I don't know what that
Pull
looks
up
like
the shifter of the Caterham 7. It is so incredibly chode-like. It is shockingly chody.
I was going to say Aston Martin.
Oh, there. Look at those images. Look at the images down there, bottom left. Look at that.
That's a little short guy.
That's a tiny little chode. I don't know if it's. Do you want to call it? Is that considered chode or micro penis?
I think we'd have to go to the Google for the scientific
I don't want to
definition.
Google either of those terms, but
why? There's a work computer.
but I would. That's my
very
vote.
Short.
It is very short and stubby.
That's true. It is really short and stubby. I guess that is the definition, isn't it? I would say.
Or any
the
of those,
Jaguar or Ford Puck.
The hockey puck. The hockey puck is another. Yes, the technical chode term, I believe, is wider than long. So the hockey puck style shifter.
I'll go with that one.
Yeah, definitely. David says, if Elon ran strategy at Ferrari F1, do you think he'd find a way to mess up even worse than Ferrari themselves have done this season? Yes.
Yeah. Because he would fire half the team, and then some of the wheels wouldn't get put on. And he'd be like, oh, God.
He'd be like, you can definitely do a pit stop with 3 guys. I don't understand. Just be more hardcore.
This guy just holds a flag?
Yeah.
What's the point
of that? If you worked harder, you could change 2 tires by yourself in a second and a half.
Hit the gym.
Yeah. Richard H. says, I noticed the common wisdom among car enthusiasts is that you should spend the majority of your car budget on your fun car and then buy a cheap daily driver. The reality for me is that I spend 90% of my time in the daily driver, so why not spend more time on that? As an example, I could buy a Boxster GTS or a used RAV4, or I could get a Panamera Taycan or Audi S5 or S7, and then a BRZ as a fun car. Thoughts? Richard, you are too smart to be a car enthusiast. I am 100% with Richard on this. 100%. The only exception is if the fun car is also investment grade. If your fun car is something that is like a used collectible car that has a high likelihood of appreciating in value, then you could shift some more of your budget towards that because you'll get it back. Do
you get to keep the engine? No, they punched it
No,
out.
they used my engine, but no, I mean, like, I'm not necessarily with him in terms of my personal finances, but I'm with him in spirit. If you have money for 2 cars and you're spending 90% of your time in one of those 2 cars, that should be the nicer car. Like, I agree. Like, if I was commuting to work every week and then I had 5 hours on the weekend to drive a sports car, I would not buy a shit box that I'd have to spend 8 or 9 hours a week in so that I could have a few hours of fun in something dope. I just wouldn't do that.
I would go the other way because whatever I drove every day would stay nice and comfortable. It would stop feeling special really soon. Whereas the weekend car, I think, would always feel special. So if I wouldn't go shitbox. I mean, if I could have a RAV4 that had radar cruise and just reasonably comfortable interior and whatever, right, I go, great. That's all I want out of this car anyway. It's an appliance.
Yeah,
Because if I had an S7,
I wouldn't buy a 6-figure depreciating luxury car
But that's what he's talking about.
Right. I suppose I would want. If I spent 8 or 10 hours a week in a car, it would have to have a great seat. It would have to have a great radio.
Your Mach-E is a good example.
It does not need to be a 6-figure luxury car, but I would not want it to be some shit box, like a beater.
Yeah,
because your back will get fucked up. You know, it might be unreliable. You're listening to crappy quality tunes. Like, I wouldn't do that. There has to be a bare minimum quality of vehicle for the daily. And there's probably a happy medium where if Richard got a new RAV4 hybrid as a daily for $45 grand, like Boxster GTS and used RAV4. He's probably talking about 140 to 150,000,
like total.
Right. If it was 75, you know what I mean? You could have an Audi S3 and a Shelby. You know, split the difference.
True.
You know, you could definitely find an in between, but like.
I think we're saying there's like a happy ratio. You don't want to be 90-10 or 10-90 with your money.
60-40 one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right. Anonymity. Any special Thanksgiving thanks for a car or car brand this year? I'm thankful to anyone who continues to make manual transmissions. I know that's a bitch.
Or NA engines. Those are fun.
Also naturally aspirated engines.
I kind of want to give a shout out to the Porsche and Lamborghini for making their rally safari versions of sports cars.
Yeah, that's fun.
Now, I know that for them, it's a little bit of a cash grab because they saw how many people were making safari cars and they went, we can sell these. But I bet the engineers that pitched it and convinced the suits, like, they probably had a really good time.
Yeah. Off-road sports cars?
It's fun. They're always fun. It's cool they exist.
From the inside information that I have gathered from Lamborghini, off the record, I won't say who told me this, but the Lambo one is not, the Sterrato is not it's really more like a regular Huracan with a lift kit. It's not designed to be jumped and shit. It's not as developed as the Dakar.
So it's just a Huracan with ground clearance.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not, it's not really designed for real off-roading. It's probably okay in sand. It's probably look cool on gravel. It'll probably be fun in snow, but it's not really off-road ready the way that the 911 probably is. That's just a little off the record insight.
I think Jason Torchinsky went and got a look in person at the Dakar at the auto show.
Yeah.
And he was surprised that the skid plate doesn't go all the way back or that far back. It was like there's like a metal plate on the front, and he looked under it and he went, "Wait, how come that stops like 6 inches later?"
It's probably for just like bashing into stuff quickly, and not really designed to protect the undercarriage so much. Javen Lee, I think that's what that's it. Javen Lee. Thoughts on these cars, their value, and where you see them going in the future? 2 cars. My grandpa's very mint 1996 Ford F-250 7.5 liter, and a very beat up, very modded 1992 Eagle Talon TSI. I think the truck probably has a lot of potential as a collector if it's very mint. Old guy driven, well maintained, stock 96 Super Duty. I see collectability there for sure. That generation of first half of the 90s Ford pickups, those have a lot of value. People really like those before the truck got all rounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm looking up values on Bring a Trailer of Power Stroke. A lot of the
diesels are much more valuable.
The 7.5 is it's a big block V6. It's not that powerful, but the values are kind of all over the map from like 5,000 to 60. So it really depends on the condition and what you have.
Yeah. A 1992 Eagle Talon TSI has basically no value, unfortunately. Even though people who really know that it's kind of the same as an Eclipse. I mean, it basically is the same as an Eclipse, but like Eagle has just is like SEO death.
I mean, they don't exist. Yeah.
Yeah, and like very beat up, very modded. Like drive it until the wheels fall off. I mean, it's just not. They could be fun. It's DSM. Like DSMs can go pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's not.
If it's beat, it's not going to be worth much money. Like a nice one could do well with the Radwood crowd and like in our generation, but it has to be really nice.
Really nice.
Yeah.
It has to be like, how did this one stay so nice?
And we've probably seen the ceiling on those for the next few years, depending on what happens with interest and money and everything like that. So, yeah, just drive the shit out of that. Turn it into a rally car.
Yeah.
But safely, because you're 20.
They could definitely be fun Dude,
front-wheel drive rally car or front-wheel drive track car. I mean, it's got a turbo engine. There's a lot of aftermarket support. You could have a real good time.
Yeah. We'll skip that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Alejandro says,
the answer is no, Alejandro. So,
was there any difference in entering our car giveaway versus the regular car reviews giveaway? No, it's the same back end.
Same back end.
Yeah.
And the company, I think, has a like part of their company is Why Not You? So on regular car reviews channel, the review of our car, the link says Why Not You? Whereas ours is Get Entered to Win. Same, but it's the same company, it's the same back end. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Also, anonymity. Headlines for the new Prius 5th Gen seem to be a bit too radical clickbaity for me. I think it's a good design, but in line with the Corolla and the Crown. What is your opinion on the design? I like the new Prius. I think it looks good.
I do too. I think it's the prettiest Prius they've made.
Yeah. It reminds me of the second gen Volt.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the things that I liked about the Volt are in that Prius design. And I am looking forward to seeing it in person. I mean, it's, here in Los Angeles, it's fucking Prius Central. I mean, this is like, if you don't have a ton of money, but you want to drive a brand new car and it's, you know, you don't care about dynamics, you just want to get around affordably and efficiently, a Prius is what you get.
Yeah.
It's just, and my friend got a Prius, Marty, and he's like not into cars, and he leased a Prius for not very much money and loved it. He loved it.
Yeah.
It was always full of trash. He loved it.
But he was so enthusiastic about it. I remember. He was so happy.
Yeah. And so, like, if the new one, like, looks better and gives it more, like, cred for car people, great. I mean, nothing wrong with a better looking Prius.
Well, now you don't have to say, I mean, they drive fine, but look at it. Like the first gen, second gen, and even the last one with the refresh was a lot better. But now you don't have that problem. It's good.
A good looking Prius is a good thing. Michael Cosgrove wants to get the iron skillet mac and cheese recipe I used for Thanksgiving. It was honestly like I got it off the internet, and I didn't have to be iron skillet. I just used iron skillets.
Do you remember what website you got it from?
It was like literally, I mean, I seriously Googled like baked mac and cheese with crust. Like it was not, it's just like panko crusted mac and cheese, and it was Gruyere and sharp cheddar. You make a roux with butter and flour and just start adding cheddar, shredded cheddar and Gruyere, and you make all this liquid cheese, and you mix it up with the noodles, and then you put it in the skillet, and then you make a crust with like panko and melted butter and some salt and some like paprika, and then you sprinkle that shit all over, and then you bake it. Like, it was really, really basic.
Sounds very good, though.
It was good. It was horrible for you.
Oh, of course.
It had like every kind of dairy amount. It's butter, cream, milk, cheese.
2 kinds of cheese.
It was
panko breadcrumbs.
Yeah, it was horrible for you, but it was so delicious. But I literally Googled the recipe. There was nothing about it that was mine. What else? I mean, my Brussels sprouts I made, they're super simple. You roast Brussels sprouts on a sheet pan with tossed in olive oil for 35 to 40 minutes at 400 degrees. You got to make sure that they're evenly spaced out. If they're too piled in there, then they steam instead of roast. They need air. And then you melt some butter in a skillet with anchovy paste and capers. You stir that shit up, and then when the Brussels sprouts are done, you just toss them in that, like you would toss wings in buffalo sauce, and then you serve. Mashed potatoes were sous vide, so it's 2-to-1 by weight, potatoes to butter, which is fucking scary stuff. 2-to-1 potatoes to butter, sous vide 196 for 2 hours, and then threw a potato ricer, and then some sour cream in there also, and then I whipped that shit with hand blender from the 1980s. That was really it.
Nice.
Yeah. Brian Kennedy, long-term update on not smoking weed. I don't think about weed 99.9% of my day. Only if I go to a concert, like outside, like a music festival, then I'm like, this would be good for weed. And occasionally, like... But I don't really think about it. I don't keep weed in the house. I don't have any pipes or bongs anymore. And I'm around people once in a while. My sister-in-law fucking smokes weed like I used to smoke weed. And even when she's around and she's like, I want to smoke weed, I'm like, fucking smoke. And she smokes right in front of me. And I don't feel tempted anymore. It's really only if I'm at a music festival. The downside is that I probably drink more wine than I used to, which resulted in me putting on weight. But... what are you going to do? Can't win them all. What is that? Oops. Sean Finney says.
Sorry.
Thoughts on a 2019 TTRS as a daily driver in the Mid-Atlantic for someone with no kids? It would be my only other car. They're very nice. I mean, the only argument against TTRS is RS3.
Yeah.
Which is the same exact car, but with a usable back seat and a bigger trunk. I love the TTRS. I think they're great fun. It's a really often overlooked sports car. Get a set of winter wheels and tires for it. You're good all year.
So fun. I saw one this week, and I turned and stopped like in my tracks because I was like, oh wow, because you don't see them enough for how good they are.
Yeah, they're
just
really
a little
nice.
expensive, and they they compete with themselves with that RS3.
Yeah, they're really, really nice. I really like them very much. I mean,
I would get one if you're ever going to have kids. You can just get an RS3 when you have kids. So have this experience, and if you like it, then know that there's a 4-door version out there that will make you happy.
Yeah. I mean, other options, I don't know what 65K is a tough number. I mean, 65K gets you a reasonable amount of 911.
Oh, used 911, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you get a nice 911.
You get M2 comp for that much money for sure. Mid-Atlantic.
But if you really want to be good in the snow, like that's a good snow sports car.
Helpful, yeah.
Yeah. Chris Navio, if you were Porsche, what changes would you make to the GT3 for the 992.2? I would make the Touring softer.
Yep.
I would make the Touring an actual Touring as opposed to just the same as the full GT3 but without a wing. Yes. Light bias. Does the TTRS justify its price premium over the RS3? No, not really.
Not dynamically.
No, they're basically the same. It just doesn't have a back seat. I mean,
that's the luxury coupe tax. That's kind of what that is.
I guess, yeah. Right? I mean, I don't think a TTRS is that much cool. Like car guy cred, like I don't think anyone's like thinks a TTRS is that much cooler than an RS3. I wouldn't pay more for one. I didn't even really know it cost more. I thought they were basically the same. But I would say no, it does not justify its price premium.
Starts at $75,000.
The TTRS?
Yeah, Car and Driver says the 2022 TTRS starts at $74,295.
Well, you can't get them in America anymore.
Oh yeah, but for comparison?
I think the RS3 starts in the high 60s, middle 68 or something like that. I would say no, it does not justify its price difference.
I mean, back in 2018, they tested one that was $80,000. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. No, it does not justify. Same car. Chad Filippo, looking at Piloti shoes and has the same issue Zack had in the Carrera T where the brake pedal is too far forward for me to easily blip the throttle. I did not have this issue. Does Piloti make a shoe to help with this? I don't have wide feet. What I don't understand what would help. What would you put on the shoe?
I think some shoes just have like a wider sole, even if the shoe, like whatever the part of your shoe that your foot goes in is narrow. Maybe some of them have just a more splayed out sole. Like running shoes tend to have a really splayed out sole, or my trail shoes, they just have a wider sole, even though the box, like the toe box, is the same as other shoes. So like your New Balances, they flare out a lot. There's shoes like that, but I don't know if Piloti.
They don't make wide shoes.
Yeah, they just don't.
I've tried to ask them. I've tried to ask everybody, can you please make wide shoes? Like, there's a substantial portion of the population, and it's not just about wide feet, but that heel toes, not with your heel and with your toe, but with the left side and the right side of your foot. And a narrow shoe actually makes that harder.
Right. Exactly what he's saying.
Yeah.
So I think you may have to go, you're going to have to change shoes and not get Pilotis probably, or you're going to have to start going back to the method of actual heel toe, assuming your feet aren't so long that you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because I like Piloti shoes. They make really nice shoes. And yes, they've sponsored our show. And they sent me a bunch of shoes. But no driving shoe, it shocks me that I can't be the only person that drives like this. Like with the left side and the right side of my foot. As opposed to the heel and the toe.
No, I think most of us do what you're describing.
But like all these driving shoe companies, doesn't matter who they are, they make shoes that are designed to fit in like Indy cars.
Yeah.
Like a narrow pedal box. Most people are driving regular ass cars in these things. Like why?
Or it has a motorsports pedal set, but most cars don't have that.
Yeah.
It does seem like something that originated in the racing community, and then people were like, well, I want to replicate racing shoes for these Indy cars. Yeah. So what's the style of that? But like modern driving, modern pedals, everything, there's
I want a New Balance fucking shape print with a rolled heel. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, no need to overthink this. It's crazy. Last question, Aaron Gascoigne. I have a 981 GT4 as a track car. Should I get a 991.2 GT3 or 4.5 swap the GT4? You should 4.5 swap the GT4. It will walk that GT3 like it's standing still.
Yeah. And
it's already a track car.
Right. You won't depreciate something like a GT3 is going to probably go up in value.
Yeah.
And so you'll be more afraid to track it really hard.
Yeah, I would just call Ricky D. Tell him I sent you. That is it for our show today. Oh, and it's right on time because I have to go to Pilates class this afternoon. What?
Nothing. I was checking the time.
Oh, yeah. That's all for us today. Do we have guests next week? I can't remember. We got to work on that.
We got to work on that. We're going to talk about that.
My birthday on Thursday.
That's right. Happy birthday. Well, this will be out
41.
Today,
the day.
Which is Thursday.
It's my birthday today. Hopefully, by the time you're hearing this, my strawberry shortcake car will have arrived. Maybe I'm going to pick it up. Maybe something. I don't know. It's supposed to rain Thursday and Friday, which sucks. No. I mean, not that I'm not afraid to drive the car in the rain, but like... I mean,
it's got paint protection on everything.
Oh, I don't care about that. It's just like not what I felt like doing. But sometimes you got to do it. And I got I got 3 press cars this weekend. I've got the GR Corolla, the Ferrari 296, and the new Mercedes SL. I'm going to look like a fucking drug dealer.
Yeah,
my house is going to be overflowing with cars. It's going to be crazy.
Only you had another place to park them.
It's going to be crazy. We will discuss having more guests back later, but have a good weekend, everybody, and thank you for listening to the show. Thank you to our patrons for supporting us and to everyone who entered the giveaway for the BMW. We appreciate y'all. See you later. Bye.